Right, hi. So, hello everyone. So I'm going to put up some videos, about 2 or 3 videos that I did today. And I visited the Bank of England's, which is actually situated in the building of the Bank of England, but down the side. It's not through the main entrance of the Bank of England, but it is in the Bank of England's building. Their museum, they've got a museum, Bank of England Museum. In fact, that's their little pamphlet. I don't know if you can, how well you can see that on there. I'm looking at the screen and it's difficult to tell completely on that screen whether how well you guys will be able to see that or not. Anyway, that's their little pamphlet that they give you when you go through, and it said the admission is free. So you know, going to a museum for free is a good thing. Anyway, so in the set of videos that I've done, they're only very short, 4 minutes I think long each, or thereabouts, and as you'll hear me say in at least one of the videos, maybe both of the videos, I can't quite remember, that I think strictly speaking you're not supposed to film in there. I think you're allowed to take photographs but you can't actually video. Now I must admit, actually, having that said, I know there are some museums like the Museum of London, for instance, where again I went today as well. You're not allowed to film in there. That I do know because I did ask one of the staff there one day, because I wanted to do a little video vlog, because again I want to try and do some interesting videos, put them up there and hopefully get more views and people will enjoy it, and it's somewhere interesting and it's something that might pique people's interest, and you know, might get a few more followers, a few more subscribers maybe. But I was told that you weren't allowed to film, and okay, maybe not every museum has that policy, but I kind of suspect that possibly they do. And with it being the Bank of England and what have you, because there's some real actual money in there. Some of it might be not legal tender anymore, but there's actual real money in there, and some of it actually might be legal tender. It's behind cases and everything, of course, and I wouldn't say like there's like vast amounts of it. You know, so whether anybody would really want to case the joint and steal anything, but I don't know. There is a real gold bar in there though, about 300 quid's worth apparently. You see on the signs and it tells you you can actually try to lift it up. It's in a glass case thing, it's a secure thing, but you know, you've got like a thing where you put your hand through and you try and lift this gold bar and see how heavy it is. But it's a real gold bar apparently. So anyway, sorry, I'm completely digressing. So I actually tried it, you see, and I must admit, it's like, you know, I'm not necessarily money orientated, because I've never really had any money throughout most of my life anyway, but it was an interesting experience to hold a real gold bar in my hand. You know, just, you know, I'm amused by my own reaction. Anyway, but see, waffling on and going off different tangents. Let's get back to the point, Paul. The thing is that I decided to do a little video in there. I did 2 little videos, and luckily it's quite quiet today. If you go on a weekend or something like that, or if there's any sort of bank holiday or things, well, say bank holiday, I don't know if it's open on the bank holiday, it is a bank after all. But yeah, so the thing is, it was quiet, there wasn't a lot of people in there. There was some kids running around and all the rest of it, but for the most part, on the 2 videos that I did, luckily I had those rooms where I was to myself for a few moments at least, so I could video uninterrupted, kind of thing. But as I say, strictly speaking, they might have not have allowed me to do it really, and I didn't ask this time because I had a strong suspicion they probably would have said no, and if I'd already asked and then they said no, and then I went ahead and did it anyway, I think it would just not be the done thing really. So at least if I had been told not to, I could have perhaps pled ignorance, do you know what I mean? Oh, sorry, I didn't realise. I know, a bit naughty, whatever, but it was really relevant to what I actually am trying to talk about, without it being too long-winded. And that's the stuff that I saw in the Zeitgeist films, videos. I'm kind of wondering whether I can link my videos, my sort of talks around this, to the Zeitgeist videos themselves, because I've been on their website, and they're quite happy for people to promote it. They're quite happy for people to put it on their website. They're quite happy for people to put it on their YouTube channels, I think, as far as I'm aware. I'm positive that's what it says on their website. I know I read something like that on there. And I'm also very aware of YouTube's policies about copyright and so forth, and this, that, and the other. And of course, I'm not claiming, or will not claim, that they're anything. I had no what's in making them or anything like that. It's just that I'm just wondering whether I should link them into what I'm talking about, so that people get a better idea. Because maybe I don't, or I am not explaining this succinctly enough for people to really grasp what it is I'm talking about and what I'm trying to say. Whereas if you watch those movies, particularly the series of videos that was made by, I think it's Peter Joseph. I've probably got his name wrong now, because I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I think it's Peter Joseph. Anyway, the guy that did those videos, Culture in Decline particularly, there's a series of them. They're about half an hour each long, but then there's about 3 Zeitgeist movies which are long. I think they're about an hour long, maybe a little bit longer than that, I'm not sure. They are online as well. They're on various different places, YouTube being on one of them, and made by the same guy. And basically the ideas behind those films and the Culture in Decline thing are just mind-blowing, really. And unlike other ideas and things that are out there, they're very practical and very down-to-earth and very doable from what I can see. And it just, when I just feel so frustrated with the way things are at the moment in terms of the world in general, and the way the human race, whatever direction it might take. Do you know what I mean? I mean, who knows? Maybe the human race will naturally follow this path and the ideas of the Zeitgeist Movement films. Not necessarily, maybe independently. Do you know what I mean? Maybe another 50 years' time, what will things look like? I won't be here by then. I'm pretty sure I haven't got another 50 years left in me. I'm fairly certain of that. But for another 100 years, say, for even, what will things look like in terms of life on this planet for the human race in about another 100 years' time? Hopefully we're all still around, and hopefully we've learned to get along better than we do now. But anyway, these are really deep sort of philosophical questions, I guess. But in the meantime, like I say, what I'm saying is that I've watched, and I think it's in particular the Culture in Decline videos. I think there's 6 of those, and they're all half an hour each, roundabout. But they do explain, particularly in one of them, which focuses on the monetary system particularly, and it goes on to explain how that system works, how it was created in the first place, and what it actually, what it really serves, or who it really serves ultimately. Not the vast majority of us, for certain, and just how that system is in some ways is not a natural system, and especially in terms of the natural systems that govern our lives, in a sense. You know what I mean? The natural resources that we have, and the limitations of those resources, and so forth, and how those resources are allocated, and how those resources are used purely for excuse me, purely for gain rather than for the betterment of everybody, sort of thing. Now the thing is that, like I say, for me, it's I probably wouldn't articulate all of those ideas in the way that Peter Joseph has articulated them. I mean, he's his vocabulary is far wider and bigger than mine for a start off, and I imagine his intellect is far superior to mine as well. And so the way he comes across is much better than I possibly do. But all the same, it's just, I find it really frustrating. I find it so frustrating that, I mean, those movies and the Culture in Decline, they've been around for a little while now. I mean, the Culture in Decline ones, I think, are a bit more newer. I think they're, well, I can't remember exactly. Maybe about 2 years old, maybe a year old, something like that. I can't remember exactly now off the top of my head. But and the Zeitgeist Movement films, the actual movies, those ones, again, like I say, I think there's 3 of them, I think. It's either 2 or 3 of those. They're a bit older, but the point is they've been around for a little while. They've been on the internet. Some people I've spoken to, I've heard of them. Some people haven't. And I just like to say, I find it frustrating that nobody's thought, well, hang on, why don't we try and start doing something about these ideas? Why can't we start influencing certain people, especially people that will be in positions to be able to make these changes, perhaps? I mean, okay, ultimately, you know, I think in one of his things, like in the Culture of Decline thing, I think he actually mentions the fact that it's not necessarily about us sitting around waiting for somebody else to make this change. You know, we should start trying to do it within our own lives, perhaps. Do you know what I mean? You know, fair enough. But it just surprises me and frustrates me that nobody seems to have kind of thought of how we can start implementing these ideas and so forth. But again, I love the fact that in the one about the monetary system in particular, how all of that system, that whole system, essentially perpetuates a situation where everybody just looks out for themselves, and whereby people are just motivated purely by how much wealth they can create and how much wealth they can accumulate. And the whole world's based on it. The whole world, every single country. I mean, in fact, just to quote something very quickly, and I'm also aware of how long this video is going on for, and just, you know, the more I waffle on, and maybe not the most succinctly way either, that a lot of people get turned off and they might not watch this. And the whole point of this for me is, 1, to get it off my chest, 2, to get it out there, in the hope that other people and more people will come on board, and more people will think to themselves, oh, that's a good idea, this. Anyway, one of the things I was going to suggest then is that they did, this is a couple of years ago, and I've not seen the results of any other studies since then, and I'm not sure how old this study is now. But apparently whoever it was, group of people, I don't know if they were scientists or university people, whatever, I don't know who they were, I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, I know there was a survey done of which was the happiest country in the world. And I don't know if they did every single country or if they did a group of countries or whatever. But the bottom line is that I can't remember the name of this country now. It was up near the Himalayas somewhere. I think it was in like Nepal or no. Sorry, my geography is not brilliant. Oh no, hang on. What was the? Oh, great, brain's gone blank now. Great, I hate when that happens. Oh, for crying out loud! Where the Buddhists come from, or at least where the Dalai Lama. Oh, great! Isn't that just typical? I hate when that happens. My brain just sometimes, and I can't retrieve that particular piece of information, and then goes. Anyway, I don't think it was that. It was near that area, that geographical area, somewhere around the sort of Himalaya India, China border, somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly where. There's a small little country there, apparently. And when they did this survey, and this country, this little country, it's only a little country. It's not like a massive country. In terms of its wealth, is not one of the wealthiest nations or anything like that. It's not one of the poorest either, from my understanding. And like I say, this was a while back when I read about this. Now it's good, I don't know, about maybe 4 years ago, maybe longer. So my recollection is not going to be the best. But I do remember them saying that this particular country was based on the set of questions that they put to whoever, or a certain amount of population or whatever, that it worked out that this was one of the happiest, if not the happiest country on earth. And it wasn't down to material wealth or material acquisition or whatever. And I just found that really, really fascinating and interesting. Now, again, don't get me wrong, I am not trying to say that we should all give our worldly possessions away and we'll all be a lot happier, because I certainly ain't going to do that, to be quite honest. I like my little creature comforts, and so I'm not saying that necessarily inherently those are bad things or we shouldn't have them or whatever. All I'm saying is that as a race, and I'm taking us as globally, not individually, because I'm sure there's many thousands of really good, decent people out there that are very socially minded and do think of other people. And I'm not just talking about your immediate family or your immediate friends, but in a wider sense, do you know what I mean? And this sense of community and so forth. And like I say, I'm not trying to... This isn't about necessarily making people feel bad or people feel, oh no, you don't lump me with all that lot or whatever. Do you know what I mean? This isn't about pointing fingers or saying we're all bad people or this and that. It's just about saying, about awareness, about being aware of the fact that, because I'm just as guilty as the next person. Like I say, I am not trying to make myself out to be as if I'm like on some bloody pedestal here and I'm some sort of like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm some sort of guru or something and I've got, whatever. I'm not trying to say any of that. Because I'm as guilty as the next person for being self-centered and selfish and self-interest. Do you know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is that the system that we have, particularly the monetary system, it plays into our selfishness. It plays into our avarice and our greed sort of thing. It does. It plays into all of those things. Where it makes us much more wanting to look after number one and our own around us, rather than think about the wider population, the wider spectrum of people around us. And so we become much more geared towards, like I say, our motivations for doing most of the things that we do in our life, most of the time, is motivated by the generation of wealth. Do you know what I mean? We need to get money to pay our rent. We need money to buy the clothes that we wear, to buy the food we need to eat to survive and live. And the thing is that obviously all of those things are essential, absolutely. But if you look at, like say, if you go to those movies, if you go to the Zeitgeist movies, particularly like say the Culture in Decline videos, you'll see that we can still have all of those things. We can still have all of those things, but we don't necessarily need it to be where you have to get more than Joe Bloggs down the road does, or whatever sort of thing. It can be done in a way where all of your needs are met. But not just yours, but every single human being. What is this? I don't know exactly, but 7 billion people on this planet. 7 billion people. That's counting every single man, woman and child on this planet that's living right at this minute, wherever they may be, whether it's flipping in Antarctica somewhere, or on the North Pole, or any other flipping part of the flipping globe, or living on the ocean somewhere, or wherever they are. Do you know what I mean? That we can have a world where every single one of those people can have enough and have all of the things that we all have and take for granted, perhaps. You know what I mean? And again, it's not, and that's the other thing about it. That's the other thing that I love about it. It's not a communist view. It's not. In fact, there's no ideology to it. Yeah, that's another beauty of this thing. Is another thing that I love about it. It's not about ideologies. All ideologies are thrown out the window. Whether it's communism, Marxism, whether it's capitalism, whatever. All of those ideologies, you don't need them. You don't need those ideologies. You just don't need them. They've all inherently got flaws one way or another. And so you don't need all of those ideologies. Now you could argue that the Zeitgeist Movement, the ideas behind it in themselves are ideologies. Maybe they are. But the basic premise of it is that we can create a world of plenty for everyone, and you know, the thing is that and like I say, and it's not about you know, maybe I don't know. I mean, like I say, I don't profess to fully grasp the whole implications of this necessarily, because I haven't gone into it in any great depth. I've just watched the movies, formulated my own opinions and my own ideas, and you know, and even then not completely. That's partly the reason why I'm doing this video. Partly the reason why I'm doing it is to try and also think as I'm talking, and what are the possibilities, what are the downfalls, what are the pitfalls, you know. So the thing is that, like, I'm trying to formulate these ideas as I'm talking about them, and because I don't always get this platform, and because sometimes the people that I do speak to about these ideas, sometimes, like I say, because I don't always get that same engagement or enthusiasm or feedback, that I don't know, maybe because they're not necessarily like-minded. Maybe I need to speak to Peter Joseph. Maybe that's the person I need to speak to, because obviously, you know, and again, I'm also conscious of the fact that I nearly said that because it's his ideas, he would be the first person to say they're not necessarily just his ideas. You know, he's kind of come on board with it, and he's made these films and so forth, but they're not just his ideas. There is lots of other people out there, and lots of other groups of people who are on the same wavelength, or you know, have the same sort of ideas or whatever. But like I say, the thing is that, like, it's about the fact that we don't have to have this world where there's such inequality, where there's such sorry, I don't know, you know, whereby we don't have to have a world where it's haves and have-nots. It can be a world of everybody has, and like I say, it's not about being you know, saying like we can't have any rich people and we can't have this, and we got, you know, and everybody's got to be the same, and it almost be like a communist kind of situation, because I don't believe in communism. In fact, I don't believe in any ideologies necessarily, because the thing is, they've all inherently, like I said before, got faults in them that don't serve the people themselves necessarily. I mean, look at Cuba. Cuba's got some fantastic positive aspects to it, but it's also got some not so good aspects to it. And I don't particularly want to live under a communist system. I'm quite happy to live under a democracy, if you like. But maybe that democracy needs to evolve beyond what it is now. As I say, I don't fully, because, like, I can only come from my perspective, and only from my limited range of knowledge and so forth, sort of thing. Other people, other real deep thinkers and philosophers may be able to rationalise these things and think much more deeply than I do about these things. So I won't necessarily have covered all the aspects of it. And again, even if we adopted all of these new ideas, these ideas of, well, say new, I don't know how new or old they are, but, you know, if we adopted these ideas, I'm not saying necessarily that they, again, it's not about creating a utopia necessarily. I don't think I would want to live in a utopia either. Because surely the whole concept and idea of a utopia is that the fact that you reach that pinnacle in your society where everything's perfect, essentially. There's no crime, there's no disease, there's no whatever, there's no negative anything. And everybody just gets along and everything's hunky-dory and all the rest of it. Then surely once you've reached that pinnacle of your civilization, that you've got nothing left to strive for. And so therefore do you not then stagnate and just become, I don't know, whatever you become. But the thing is, surely to create a utopia means the death of that society, that civilization in some ways, because I think life, and I think the vast majority, if not virtually all people, even rich people, let's be honest about it, they're still human beings, they still have pains, they still get ill, you know what I mean? Okay, you can argue, well, yeah, they get ill, they get the best doctors in the world. Yes, okay, but like I say, this isn't about necessarily trying to be a them and us, because again, that doesn't help anything. Do you know what I mean? What's the point of, like, because ultimately, again, people with the money and the power, yes, you can try and fight against it, as many people have done over the countless millennia or whatever. And yes, you may win a few battles and you may win a few bit of ground now and again, but ultimately they always seem to become on top anyway, because they're the ones with the power. But again, this isn't about trying to suggest that it's completely useless and we shouldn't try or anything. The thing is that, like I say, sorry, I've lost my train of thought again now. Yeah, the thing is that ultimately, utopia is, yes, I guess it's an ambition, a goal, something to strive for. But the point, yes, that to get back to what I was trying to say, is that dear, sorry, I'm getting really distracted. So yeah, the thing with life in general is, I think, I mean, loads of people come up with different theories, and if you're a bit of a sci-fi buff like I am, the answer to life, the universe and everything is 42. No, sorry, that's a reference to Douglas Adams and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Anyway, the thing is that life is a struggle in lots of different ways, for lots of different people, for lots of different reasons. And also not just in terms of materially or in terms of your actual circumstances, whether you're a child in Africa that's starving, whether you're a political dissident in another country, maybe in China or wherever, suffering incarceration just because of your political views, whether you're living in Syria and you're in the midst of that civil war, wherever you are or whoever you are, one way or another life is a struggle, and it always has been, and I guess it always will be in some ways. Now that doesn't mean to say that we can't improve upon it and we can't try to make it better for everybody, and try to alleviate those issues and what have you. But the thing is, it's ultimately part of, I think, the reason for life, and part of, and this is just my view, I'm not saying, I'm not really a philosopher or anything like that, I'm not, in fact I'm not, but I think part of the reason for life is that struggle in a way, because with that it's surely that's part of it, is where we have issues, we have problems, either externally or internally, and I think both. And in fact, to be perfectly honest with you, I think the internal struggles that we have with ourselves are probably the hardest struggles of all. In terms of external struggles, whether you're, like I say, political dissident in another country where you're being held just purely for your political views, or whether you're a child in Africa starving, or wherever, whatever, hopefully those situations can be changed by other people helping and other people getting involved, and hopefully systems and attitudes changing. But in terms of the struggles that we have within ourselves, you know, our emotional struggles, our philosophical struggles, our whatever, you know, whatever the stuff that's going on in that person individually, whether they look at themselves and think, am I a good person, or I did a bad thing yesterday, or I didn't do a nice thing yesterday, or whatever, those personal, interpersonal struggles that we have, I think they're the hardest. They're the hardest struggles to deal with, because, you know, the human mind, and I know this from personal experience, the human mind is the cruelest thing to itself. You know, if I did, or I treated another human being half of the way I treat myself a lot of the time, I would have been locked up with the key thrown away a long time ago. Because, you know, sometimes I can be so hard on myself for lots of different reasons. But the thing is, like I say, you know, so in terms of bringing it back to this utopia thing, as I say, the Zeitgeist thing, it's not about necessarily creating utopia, because I personally, and this is just my personal point of view on it, is that once you create utopia, that's essentially you've reached that pinnacle, that pinnacle of development, if you want, in your society, within your civilization. Where do you go from there? And then surely you would then start to stagnate, would you not? Now, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe other people can point out, wow, but once you get the utopia, then you can concentrate on X, Y and Z, and you can do this, or you can do that, blah, blah, blah. Maybe so, I don't know. So, but as I say, I know I've waffled on, and God knows how long this video is now. It's got to be at least 20 minutes, maybe longer. And I know that some of my rambling may have been a bit incoherent, and may have not made a lot of sense to a lot of people. They might have gone scratching their heads going, what the heck was that guy talking about? Because I do not have a clue. He was talking double Dutch for all I knew. And fair enough, you know, I'm sorry, well, I'm apologising for, maybe I shouldn't apologise for it, because, like I said, what you see is what you get. And the thing is that I felt the need to do this, for me, because although I don't have a massive audience, let's face it, I don't, you know, I just needed a platform, and I needed somewhere where I could just waffle on about what I want to waffle on about, and hopefully maybe somebody gets something from it, maybe they don't. I know this is quite boring, it's just me waffling on. There's nothing interesting to see, apart from maybe something behind me that maybe people might be going, oh, what's that there? I don't know. And it's not the most entertaining, so I certainly won't list this under entertainment. I certainly won't list it under education either, necessarily. Because I doubt very much I've educated you in any way, shape or form. But anyway, the thing is, this was just purely for me. I'm going to put this up. It's a long video. I don't know, I'll probably be lucky if I get 10 views maybe. But yeah, I just wanted to do this for me. And now I'm starting to dry up a little bit, and I'm aware of how long this video has been going on for. And I really wanted to try and make this relevant to the videos I'd made earlier on today. I don't know if I'm going to edit this or just put it up as it is. I'm not sure. Right, but I'm going to leave it there because, like I say, I've waffled on enough, and you don't want to hear me just... Well, anyway, okay. So I'll leave it there, guys, and I'll catch you later, and hopefully I'll have done some more, much more shorter, interesting videos at some point. Cheers. Bye for now.